So I get quite a few questions about the paintings that are on my wall. Some of them I've shown on my Instagram and some of them have been in the background of my pictures. I do get quite a few questions every now and then, so I thought I'd make a video just to show like all the oil paintings that are on my wall. I also have a sketchbook, which to be honest I don't really use a sketchbook that much, only because like the paintings that I do, they're always on like a canvas panel or like a canvas. I mostly do commissions anyway, so I don't really have like a lot of stuff in here, but things that I do have I will show you guys as well. I thought it'd be cool to show you guys some of my older paintings, but also like the ones that are on my wall. And yeah, so starting off, these are two of the first oil paintings that I ever made. I can't remember what paper this is, but it was suitable for like acrylic paint, so I thought, okay, let me use oil paint on it. So I thought I'd be fine, you know, just priming it and then using oil paints. So this was originally meant to be like a landscape kind of, and you can see like the reflection, and these are meant to be like the rocks and like a mountain in the back, and then like a galaxy sky. And then for this one I wasn't really focused on like proportions, because obviously as you can see like it just doesn't look whatever, but I was more focused on colours and kind of layering and kind of getting used to using oil paint, because at this point I'd kind of used a little bit of acrylic, but I'm personally not really an acrylic person. I was literally colour pencil, pastel, and I thought I wanted to use oil paint, so this was like my first sort of attempt, and I was like, no, I'll get this. So yeah, these are my first attempts. I believe I did them at the start of 2020, and 2020 was the year that I decided I wanted to learn, but I think I probably painted like maybe a max of like 9 or 10 pieces compared to say last year when I was painting nearly every day. This is my start, and you know they say that everybody starts somewhere, so this was my somewhere. And then this one was a little bit of practice. I wanted to kind of practice the colour as well as kind of like just doing a bit of like practice on the hair as well. I mean, looking back at this, like there's so much that I know I've improved on, and personally like how I would tackle this now, it'd be completely different. So these three aren't actually on my wall, like I don't really want to have them up, but I've kept them just you know, for like reflection. These I consider like my starting pieces. I know this is a huge jump compared to my other three paintings, but I thought instead of doing something like eyes or like a person portrait, I thought, okay, let me do an animal portrait, because that's something that I'm so used to doing, and I ended up tackling it how I would with a pet portrait drawing and working in layers. So for this one especially, the base layer I did it in acrylics, because I thought, okay, let me try that out, see what it's like in acrylics. To be honest, it didn't really make too much of a difference. Like this was the only time I used acrylics as a base, but yeah, I mean like the whole process of it was a lot more easier, and this is one of my favourite paintings that I've done. To be fair, if I were to redo this now, there are obviously changes that I would do just to bring a bit more depth to like certain areas. So say like around here I'd make this a little bit more kind of darker, and then maybe some little bits around here make it darker, and then here for like the white fur I'd just rework all of this just to make sure that it's not all just kind of like this one white colour, just to make it a bit more kind of realistic looking. And then also for the background I wouldn't have it just one flat colour, because I feel like if you do that it just tends to make a painting look flat. Nowadays with my work I try to kind of keep it a little bit abstract, a little bit kind of blurry-ish, nothing too complicated, but you know, just not one flat colour. Obviously the whiskers were a little bit tricky for me to do, so I think now I'm a lot more used to doing whiskers, so they'd be a lot more smoother and a bit more thinner as well. And then sticking to animal portraits, I had to paint clay. Whenever I do something new I have to like either draw him or paint him or have something of him. So I have this photo and I just kind of like freestyle the drawing, so I know like the proportions are a little bit off and like the alignment is a little bit off compared to the eyes and like the rest of the face. But for this I wasn't too like focused on the proportions, only because I knew that this is practice, and I just wanted to work on like the little details and kind of layering and just sort of like thinking how I would put a painting together in terms of like the colours and layers. And I think I was probably using like a new medium as well, so I just wanted a bit of practice. I do have an actual painting of him that I will show you guys a little bit later on. And I think also for the eyes, I used a different colour compared to what I use now. So I think for this painting I used phthalo green and used yellow ochre. Right now I tend to used cadmium yellow, medium and permanent sap green, and those like my kind of go-to sort of colours. And then I painted this. This was kind of like a little pre-Christmas kind of painting. I did have like a few that I really wanted to do, but I think like at the time I had a lot of work on, so I couldn't really do it. This was a cute little like gingerbread muffin painting, and I was like, oh, I think I might have seen it on Instagram or like on Pinterest or something, and I thought, oh, that'll make a really cool painting. I remember I was really happy with this, and I think still like some of the techniques and stuff I still use. I really like how the gingerbread like turned out, because there's a bit of like depth and shadow in there, and it does look kind of realistic. So I had an urge to start painting people and just to get some practice in. So here's one portrait that I painted. I believe this might have been during the 2020 lockdown. Well, one of the lockdowns. We were in a lot of lockdowns then. But this portrait, it's of I think she's a radio host here in the UK. So it was literally the photo of her, and I thought, oh, that'd be a really interesting painting to do, because it was in a bit of low light, and like there were some nice shadows and stuff like around her face, and I thought, oh, okay, that'll be interesting. So I painted this, and I remember I think I tweeted it to her, or I must have put it on Instagram, and then like she either reshared it or retweeted it or something, and that was quite cool. And then here's another one. I remember being so happy with how I painted the glass, just like the reflection and everything, and then especially in her nails as well. This was a photo of Eleanor Neal. She does like true crime videos here on YouTube. But yeah, so I remember seeing this picture and I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. I think it was more sort of like the glass, and there was a lot of red in the picture as well, and I thought, okay, that'll be interesting to paint. Yeah, so I did this around the same time as the previous one. Areas like this, they look quite flat, and like around her hair, I would add a lot more detail in to the hair just so that it kind of matches the detail around the glass and her nails. Get some like really fine sort of hair details in, and like some highlights or something like that. And then around like her cheeks, just to add a bit more kind of shadow, and around here a bit more shadow as well. There's parts of this painting that I really like, and then parts of it that I'm like, yeah, it definitely needs a lot more work, but I think for the time that I did it, this was like the best that I could do, and that's usually how it is. And then sometime in 2020 I felt a little bit adventurous, and I painted this. If you're familiar with the Netflix movie 365 Days, I mean, honestly, don't ask me why I chose to paint this. I saw that it was trending and I was like, right, okay, lockdown, and I wanted something to do. So, and also around that time I painted this, like a purpley kind of landscape. I originally saw the picture on Pinterest and I thought, oh, that would make a really lovely painting, and I have to hold it a little bit closer because my camera isn't focusing, otherwise if I do this it goes a little bit blurry. Yeah, it's a really nice sort of landscape. I know it's not really like realistic or anything, but I really like the purpley kind of shades. And yeah, so moving on to the sketchbook, it's basically a watercolor moleskin sketchbook. So originally this was kind of like a watercolor journal that I started like a couple of years ago, and then I couldn't really keep up with it, so I didn't really use this sketchbook for anything. And then during 2020 I thought, you know what, let me use this and put some oil paintings in here. So originally it was this kind of stuff that I was doing. It wasn't really for anything, it was just something I wanted to do, and I didn't really use watercolour that much, so it was like an opportunity to use watercolours. Little doodle of clay there as well. It was like a little watercolour diary, and I wasn't really adding too much detail to anything. I think if I was to do this now it would be a lot different, and I think my skills have definitely improved since then anyway, so Clay got the snip. So that's originally what this was about, but I didn't really do anything because I got really busy and I didn't really use this. So this was one that I did, and I believe this one I painted directly onto this sketchbook. I just primed it properly and then I painted it, so it's a little bit raised because I had tape around the edges. This was a scene from a movie, I can't remember what it was called, but it was on Netflix, and I really liked the lighting in this scene, so I thought, okay, let me paint it. And I did like a Halloween kind of series, and then I painted this picture of Annabelle. I really like how I did the hair here. It just looks really sort of like soft, but there's like detail and stuff. This was a little painting study from it was a photo of, if you're familiar with the band Maneskin, who won Eurovision like last year, I think. This was, I think it was the drummer. It was a picture of him and he was holding this like cigar and a lighter, but I really liked the picture and I thought, okay, this area of the picture, that would be a cool kind of painting, so I thought I would do that as a little study. I don't really paint hands very often, so it was kind of cool to do. And then another Eurovision reference, if you know, you know. There was an Icelandic band and they were quite a sort of controversial band and they obviously entered for Iceland. I'm gonna butcher this pronunciation, but I think it's Hatari. Their music isn't for everyone, but like they had this really cool kind of look, like a proper like BDSM leather and spikes kind of look. So their music video for their Eurovision song entry, it was a really unique music video and there were some stills from it. This guy was shaving his hair and I thought, okay, that'd be quite interesting to paint. So I took 2 stills from the music video and I decided to paint it. I've kind of given a bit of criticism to the other ones, but this one I don't really know what I would improve on. And like compared to the other paintings and like, I've been giving criticism to them, I think these I'm kind of happy with how they are. And then next up, so along with the Halloween theme, I painted these 2. I really love these 2 paintings and I think I was like, after these 2 I was like, right, okay, I think I'm really getting the hang of oil painting. I really love the colour on this. I just think like, it was obviously the reference picture, that was a really amazing picture and the lighting in it was really cool, so obviously I had to paint that. I was just really happy with this, and this is another painting that I think like I don't really know what I could improve on because I was just really happy with it. I think this probably took me about 4 hours. I think all of these paintings that are this size, about 4 or 5 hours. This one, if you know the scene, you know it. You know, if you watch the movie, you know how iconic of a scene this is. This is from the movie Hereditary, and I'm not gonna really tell you what happens, like, in case you guys haven't seen it. It's honestly a really good movie, and this scene especially, like the close-up of his face and how intense it was, I was like, that would make a really cool painting. And then finally, this is the last thing that I put in this book, Scream, following on with the horror theme. I honestly love the Scream movies. They're iconic, but also they're kind of like my comfort movie series. Like I have a couple that are like my comfort series. It's Scream, Transformers, I think Twilight is one of them. Yeah, so that's basically that. So moving on to 2021, last year, I really got into TikTok and just making content on TikTok. So when the Lil Nas X music video came out, I was like, okay, let me paint something from that. So I ended up painting this. I do have a few other paintings that I did at the start of January and I'll insert some pictures here, but these ones have gone to like new owners. I quite like this painting. I really like the colours in it, especially in his hair, like just really nice vibrant kind of reddish pink. And then here we have another painting. If you guys remember a few paintings back, there was the Icelandic band and there was this picture that I saw and I was like, okay, I want to paint this one because this is quite cool and it has all 3 members in there. I really like this painting. I was so happy with how it looked and how it turned out, and these spikes as well. I think it's this. I was really happy with their skin tones as well, like just trying to mix the skin tones and try to make them as accurate as possible. Skin tones can be a little bit tricky, but I think I did an okay job. And then another Eurovision painting. Like you guys will know, I like Eurovision. So if you're familiar with Conchita Wurst, who won in, I believe, in 2014, I know like a few people who have seen this who aren't familiar with Eurovision. They're like, is that Kim Kardashian? And I'm like, no, it's Conchita Wurst, but yeah. And then another Eurovision painting, Måneskin, who won last year. This is Damiano, who's the lead singer. I quite like the original picture with also like the cigarette smoke, and I've never done anything like that, so I thought, okay, let me try that. And I really like the background as well. I'm really into this kind of like a turquoisey sort of bluish background with like some abstract kind of like lighter tones in there. And then one thing you'll know about me is that I really love my cats, specifically tigers. So this wasn't the first time that I painted on a palette. Like this is a wooden palette from like, it was either from Amazon or like an actual like art retailer, like distributor. So there's parts of this that I really like and some parts that I don't. The parts I do like are literally this much downwards. But the parts that I'm not too keen on is literally how I've done the fur. I think it's a little bit dark, and also this was probably when I realised that if you add a lot of like fur details, it can make it look flat. These bits here, I don't think it needed to be as defined with the fur. Literally this much I'm really happy with. So there might be a bit of a glare on this painting, and I'm not going to take it down because it's, as you can see, it's a lot bigger than my other ones. But yeah, you might have seen this painting before. It did go viral on Twitter, and then I think it went a little bit popular on Reddit as well. It's one of my favourite paintings that I've ever made. It's obviously of clay. I painted this in, I think, February last year. I originally painted it because I was submitting it into like an art competition here in the UK, and I didn't actually get anywhere in the competition, but I had this really nice painting of clay. Some people, they ask me like, why did you paint him like on the toilet? It's just how the original picture was, and I remember this moment so clearly because I was doing my skincare. It was nighttime and I was doing my skincare, and there was like I had like a coffee scrub, and it was on the floor, like a little bit gone on the floor, and just before I'd taken this picture, he was kind of sniffing the coffee scrub, and he got a few little granules on his nose, and it was really cute. And I had to add in these little details as well, like little like skincare and like toiletries and stuff. And this is another painting that I'm really happy with how it is, and especially at the time, like I hadn't painted that much, but at the end of doing this I was like, oh wow, okay, I can really apply myself and do something really good. So this is the only other painting that I have from 2021. This was originally a scene from a music video by an Italian rapper called Touche or something. You know, I like discovering new artists and rappers and, you know, different like musicians and stuff. I remember I heard the song first and I watched the video and I was like, oh right, okay. There was a scene where he was either writing a letter or writing music or something, and he was smoking, and like the lighting in it was just honestly like such cool lighting, and I thought, okay, I want to paint that, like some really nice orangey red low light kind of lighting. There was like this kind of close-up like this, and I thought, okay, that's a bit that I want to paint. I think it's kind of like a challenge in itself if you haven't really done anything that's low light, but like the process is literally the same, and like I think with every painting that I do, it's like a little challenge, but once you complete it, it's like, oh okay, so that's how you do that then. So this dog painting was from a Central C music video. I did actually film this. I have yet to edit and upload it, but it was from the Eurovision music video. And how the music video was filmed, it was in really low lighting, but I saw the dog and I was like, oh okay, this will be really interesting and a bit of a challenge to paint. Yeah, so I ended up painting it, and with this painting, unlike my other pet portraits, like there wasn't as much like sort of detail like in the fur. It was literally just adding in the shadows and then defining, say, like the tongue and the mouth. I don't know, it was complex but also not complex at the same time because there wasn't as much detail, but with that you have to be a little bit careful to make sure that there is like that definition. And then I ended up painting these lemons a few months ago because I was working on like a how to oil paint kind of documentation, like kind of like a guide. Still kind of in the works and I'm still working on it, but this was basically like a thing that I painted and I filmed it, as well as doing like a step-by-step picture guide. Honestly, it's a really simple kind of painting, but I think it's just more the technique. It makes it look quite effective, and there's some really nice like sort of like details. And then there's this painting which I've uploaded the time-lapse of it previously. I know this is a bit of a random one, but also like I have a fear of spiders, but for some reason like these spiders, I think they're called peacock tarantulas. I think it's the colour of them because they're like a nice sort of bluish, dark bluish colour. I think it kind of makes them look a little less intimidating than regular tarantulas. And anybody who knows me will know that I do not like spiders at all. So for me to paint this was a little bit random. And this is on like a wood panel. I think is it MDF board? I think. And painting on wood, it's alright actually. You obviously have to prime the canvas, so I ended up using a transparent gesso. Like, you could tell that there was gesso on there, so I tried to keep the background somewhat similar to the original wood panel colour, but made it a little bit more kind of abstract. As you can see, there's some like darker areas and then lighter areas. And then I think I saw this original picture on, I don't know, it was kind of like one of those aesthetic kind of Instagram accounts, and I thought, okay, that'd be quite interesting to paint, like the low light sort of subject, but there's all like the bouquet in the background and like the lights and stuff. And I mean, honestly, it's not like my favourite kind of painting that I've done, but it was something different and I quite like the background. So moving on to these smaller paintings, I did tell you guys that I really like cats, I like tigers. I ended up painting these two and I did them both as alla prima. Well, I do all of my stuff as alla prima for the most part, but these two were definitely all done in one sitting, and I was trying out a new kind of like sort of technique. So with a lot of my other work, I tend to add in like a lot of detail, but for these two, I thought let me try and like simplify it and only add detail where it needs to be, which is why some of it is a little bit blurry. I believe with both of them, I did them like in an hour each, which is really quick for a painting, but like I said, I just wanted to try it out and see how it would look. I ended up adding like a gold leaf here, and then I don't know if you can tell if the light picks it up, but I added a bit of like gold paint onto this one as like little fur details and like brush strokes. And then here is another painting. It's a bit more of a bigger one. So originally I think I saw this also on like one of those aesthetic kind of Instagram accounts. I really like the picture, but originally there was like a man who was stood here and I think he had his hand on her back or something like that, and I thought I don't really want to paint a guy in this. Like, I just think it's like a vibe on its own. Maybe she's reading like Eat Pray Love or something. And then this is my most recent tiger painting. Yeah, so I really like this painting. I kind of took the advice I gave myself from the others. So I've got the kind of like dark, sort of less defined fur. And there's less definition in the fur around these bits, and there's more definition around the mouth and the areas that are more kind of in focus. The whiskers are really smooth and like they're very clear and strong. So it's basically having a good balance of detail as well as like blurry areas, because like I said, when you have a nice balance, it kind of draws in focus where you need to have focus. And then with the background, I tried to keep it quite abstract. I think I probably used like maybe 4 different colours. And then the last painting on my wall is this one. If you're familiar with the YouTuber iNabber, he's like a British YouTuber, he does like commentary. I've been following him for a while because he's part of like the British YouTube scene, but also he has a dog, and this dog's called Kenji. And yeah, so I saw this picture and I thought, oh my god, this would be a really cute painting because he's got his very own little Paddington bear. It's such a cute photo and I had to paint it. So that's basically this painting, and he's just chilling on the sofa. And then here again, it's a nice mixture of blended areas and fur. So for example, this area right here, you can tell that there isn't really that much detail, whereas like these areas here, there's more fur definition, and then like certain areas around the paws and stuff. So this is one of the paintings I finished yesterday. Finally, I'm just going to show you these 2 paintings that I finished yesterday. These are obviously commissioned, so I won't be keeping them and they won't be going on my wall, but I thought I would just show you guys them anyway. How adorable is this little dog? It's so cute, and this size is honestly perfect for like individual paintings. Like, they're just so cute. And then this is a double painting of these 2 kitties. There were 2 individual pictures and then we merged them together, so this is the final painting. So that's my little tour of paintings on my wall and some in my sketchbook, and then these additional commissions. I hope you guys enjoy this video and you found it informative or, you know, entertaining or something. I don't know. If you liked it, just leave a comment in the comment section. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in my next video. Bye!